Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Okay, today's message is going to be entitled "The Holy Wars Are Coming to America." Okay, since the launch of this channel, God began to show me things, and I think now I'm finally able to kind of put all of it together. Okay, so I'm trying to build a case with you guys so that you guys can believe the things that I am saying to you, to the chosen. I want you to know in your spirit that this message is urgent. It's just not another word, but this is the word for this day and this time. Okay, so basically, let's start with the holy wars are coming to America. Okay, the Lord had started to show me the word crusader, right? I kept on seeing that word constantly, right? So I had to dig into it. Obviously, we all went to school and we read about the Crusaders or whatever's left in our memory. I wanted to make sure it would suffice. So I went back into the topic, okay? So it's basically the holy wars between the Christians and the Muslims, okay? The same thing that we've been seeing in our lifetime of the conflict in the Middle East, But perhaps if you just, someone who isn't paying close attention, you just think, oh, it's just Israel and the Muslims or Palestine going at it again. It's just what they do. Okay, but actually it's just the continuation of the holy wars. The holy wars never stopped. Okay, but right now we in a time where it's cranking up. Okay, a period where it's expanding. It's coming actually to our doors. So the reality that we once knew here in America is getting ready to change drastically. Okay, so that was a word that the Lord began to show me a lot, was crusaders. Okay, then the Lord began to show me the compass. Okay, and I'm like, okay, so maybe perhaps I'm thinking at the time the Lord is telling me that it's time for me to begin to lead, to start a YouTube channel and begin to lead and speak on things. Okay, but later on I get more revelations on this compass. Okay, the compass has everything to do with land and direction, right? Also tied into the four winds, okay? The east wind, the west wind, the south wind, and the north wind, okay? So again, compass has to do with leadership, has to do with land, and has to do with these winds, as far as what God showed me, okay? So then I begin to tune into the frequency of the Anunnaki. I'd heard them, like I said before, in passing. I heard that name before, never looked into it, was never of any interest to me. Okay, so then their presence just began to grow and grow. I get a letter in the mail from the DMV with the letters A and U, and it stands for something that has something to do with the motor vehicles. I forget what it stands for, but I thought to myself, I knew damn well I shouldn't have received no letter from the DMV, because I had it was pretty much them saying that they was going to suspend my registration if I didn't put on file that I had insurance. But in order to even get your registration, you have to have proof that you have proof of registration. So I was like, this is weird. So then I seen that name. I knew, and I thought to myself, I heard that name before. I think I might have heard Bobby Hemmett do it in one of his libations. I knew. So then I started to look up. I knew is the commander-in-chief of the Anunnaki. I said, okay, we going somewhere. Okay, so I started to dig into the story of the Anunnaki. And also I had heard Rashad Jamal mention that we were Anunnaki gods, right? So I began to dig into their story. Okay, they are connected to Sumeria. They are the gods of creation in the Sumerian myths. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on this one, y'all. I might be wrong. Okay, but I'm gonna put it out there, and I'm gonna assume, just based off of everything that I have been getting, I believe that either Anu is El Elyon, right? The God of the Bible who brings judgment, or either Anu is one of the Anunnaki that oppose El Elyon. Okay. But being that, now that I hear myself saying that, being that I'm saying that, we know that Enki was actually supposed to be, he's another one of the gods in the Sumerian myths. We know that he, in the Sumerian myths, was the one who saved creation when Enlil was the one who wanted to destroy civilization and sent the flood to the land. Okay, so I say that to say also, for you guys who might not be familiar with the Sumerian mythology, it's basically a text which many believe is incorporated into the Bible Genesis story and the flood story. Okay, pretty much people are saying that this is where this story actually originated, and the Bible just plagiarized it and put it into the Bible. Okay, so these are supposed to actually be the gods of the Bible. Okay, and ancient Sumeria, right, was a land which is present day Iraq, and or probably really all that area over there, all the way you know, from northern Africa all the way down to into Iraq, Jordan, and all over there. Probably that whole Middle Eastern area is really Sumerian territory. Okay, and also the Crusades were fought by the Turks, the Persians, the Arabs, and then the Christians from the West. The Christian was the Europeans, the Western Europeans. And then perhaps now the Crusades were fought by Arabs and Africans, because we do know that the Africans, Moors, have a connection to that land and also to that religion. You know, it's a Muslim and Moor go hand in hand, right? And then we do know that when we look at the Anunnaki, you know, they're black gods, right? And then we have people talking about, you know, God is black, Jesus was black, everyone in that area was black at that time. So these wars basically was, again, white Europeans fighting against Muslim, Turks, Persians, Arabs, and Africans. Okay, so that's important. Now, so God began to bring in this flood story back to me again, right? This flood story is playing out. Okay, now I then have a dream not too long ago, maybe like two weeks ago or so. I thought I interpreted it correctly, but upon further investigation, I realize now what God was truly trying to say, which I'm glad that video that I put out didn't get many views. Okay, I had entitled that video, "The Lord said, let the judges judge," right? Which God was showing me in this dispensation of time that I technically am a judge, and to use my words, you know, my words will have power and they hold weight in the spirit, right? But on a greater level, what he was showing me was that actually, no, right here, right now, America is getting ready to be judged. We do know, everyone's been talking about it. We do know with that last huge solar eclipse that we had back in April or something, April or May, right? That it was prophesied that judgment was coming to America because the solar eclipse took a route across America, forming an X. Okay, that's what it formed, and it showed all the cities that it was hitting, right? And a lot of the cities were like, I remember one of them was Nineveh, which one of the cities in the Bible. Then I remember, I think a couple of cities were names of Egyptian cities. Okay, also this X was supposedly connected also to Amun-Ra, right, which is an Egyptian god, but somehow perhaps have a connection with this Anunnaki. I don't know exactly how it all works, y'all, or whatever, because I'll be like, okay, what the hell's going on? Because somehow the Anunnaki and the Egyptians are connected. I don't know exactly how, because they look different and the mythology is different, but somehow they connected. I haven't quite gotten that, and perhaps I don't need to get that, but I know they are connected. And the X is also a symbol, like I said, of Amun-Ra, right? That's the and one of his symbols is the I think the ram, and I believe something with this solar eclipse was connected to the ram, which is, what was the ram is Taurus, right? So somehow it lined up astrologically. Okay, remember, I'm just building this case for you guys, so you guys don't take this word lightly. Okay, so now I have this dream where I'm on some kind of boat, and the Lord, it's like I become the Lord, and he starts speaking through me. And I said, didn't I tell you that I was going to judge? What the hell are y'all still doing sitting around here? And as soon as I begin to say that, all chaos started to ensue. The winds started to blow. Okay. And then, like, you know, that was the judgment coming, you know, but people were, it's the scripture, people were partying and marrying and going about their daily lives unaware of what was getting ready to come. The chosen might be getting these words, but not really knowing or believing that it's coming or when it's coming. You know, they might think it's somewhere down the line. But all of this was, again, putting together that now is the time. You know I did a video over a year ago when God put it on my heart to tell you guys to start getting prepared for war if it came to America, you know, and what you should do, talking about stocking up and all of that good stuff, getting all your survival kits in order. Okay, but here I am now with that dream. It's finally clicking what God is saying. The holy wars are here. They're coming to America, and either you need to leave the country or you need to be prepared to fight. Thug it out and be ready to survive it all. Because if you truly are the chosen, right, and you are the ones that are going to be the Noahs, the ones that rebuild civilization, once destruction comes to America, then you're going to need to be prepared for the fight, for the long haul. And are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you know what survival look like? Have you, you know, if you were chosen like me, you've been in training for umpteen years. So you really about this life, and you with the shits, you know? So I say that to say now, the whole flood story was coming back, right? And judgment coming to the land. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Another thing was this east wind. In my dream, I had the east wind blowing, right? It was a very destructive wind blowing in my dream, but I survived it. And I pretty much, it was like breaking glass. Glass was breaking everywhere. It was only wind. There was no rain. It was just wind accompanied by no rains. And it was just busting out everything. And I somehow, when it finally stopped, I shook out my crock, which had like a couple pieces of glass on it that didn't cut me, and I kept it moving, right? So that was God telling me at that time that an east wind is upon us, right? That hard times was coming, but that I would be okay. But not only was the message for me, but the message was for you guys as well on a greater level, okay? Also, I'm going to tie this east wind thing in. Zachariah Stitchin, right? He was the writer of these books about the Anunnaki, okay, and the planet of the crossing, right? This is the upward X. This is the X that I've been seeing, like this. And this is what crossed over America. And then the Anunnaki, the planet supposedly that they come from, is called Nebaru, which is a cross, right? The symbol that's used for Christianity, right? And then when you look at these Anunnaki gods, on their chains, they have crosses on them, and their iconography, there's crosses in these old ancient tablets when you see them. Okay, so okay, now before I get back to the east wind, this X, right? Now I've been seeing it. I cleaned my mirror the other day, right? When the smog hit my mirror, all I see is X's all over it. When I'm outdoors and I look at the ground, right? Because I tell you, like, I don't know what they do, but I'm able to look at things and see things, okay? So like I could look into some tile and get images from them. So I look down at the ground and I'm seeing X's everywhere, okay? So that means judgment here, y'all. It's here, it's coming. Just looked at the news. Biden gave Ukraine these some kind of weaponry that is very detrimental and something that could escalate the war, something that Putin said would escalate the war if they had those capabilities, okay? So that is that with the X and with the war that's already going on, that is fought overseas but just yet hasn't come here physically. We've been feeling the winds of this war here, You know what I mean? But we just haven't seen it with our own eyes, physically seen any war here. But it's the invisible war that's going on here in America right now. Okay? So then this east wind. Okay, in Zachariah Stitchin's book, he mentions something about an east wind, right? The Bible mentions the east wind. The east wind was a destructive wind that the Lord would send over the land to destroy Egypt, so that he could, you know, free his people. Okay, so now in Zachariah Stitchin's book, he goes on to say that he believes that the east wind was actually an atomic bomb. Okay, a nuclear weapon. So that's something that got to be prepared for. All of these people that's building these underground bunkers ain't building them for no reason. So if the holy wars is coming here, be very clear that it's highly likely that nuclear war will take place on this soil. Okay, so that's serious. That's serious. Is serious. But again, if you're the chosen and you've been preparing and you've been tuned in, you know, obviously you're gonna be all right. If you leave the country, probably better, you know. But if you choose to stay, you got to be ready and prepared to fight a long fight. I looked at the time frame of the holy wars. The holy wars was 200 years, damn near 200 years. Okay, not sure if that's how long it's gonna last here. But I do know, again, that it's coming to our soil. Okay. So that is my case, that it is time to begin getting your passports in order, getting your finances together to get the hell on up out of here. Okay. Or beginning to restructure your life for survival. Okay. So some things I've been saying, I said, God, well, if you telling me that judgment is here and judgment's upon the land, what the hell can I do? What can I do? I know I did that video about food and water, but shit, if nuclear stuff hit, we ain't safe in these buildings. Like, what we gonna do? So a couple things. Okay. The greatest thing, again, is to leave the country, right? You want to go somewhere where these holy wars have never been fought and never been. A great place, obviously, for most of us would be Africa. You know, Africa would be a great place to go. You know, for many reasons, probably easier to assimilate, you know, culture similar, you know, maybe the place to go. Okay. Another thing to build my case. Okay. I had a dream a couple of years back where it was like some kind of war and chaos broke out. It was like we was in some kind of dome. And as people were trying to leave from the danger, there was these guards, police officers pushing us back in, not allowing us to escape. So again, you know, with these borders being built and things like that, when this war hits this land, there's going to be no way out. You're going to have to thug it out. You know what I mean? And what's your chances of survival? So wanted to put that in as part of my case. You know, when it comes, there's no way out. So best to get out now before it hits the land. Okay. So just a few things that I'm going to be speaking of what can you do. I do remember years ago, I used to watch this boy named Nature Boy, you know, and he was talking about going back to nature, getting back into the jungles, you know, leaving just Western world alone and, you know, trying to get back your God mind and get back in tune. So I remember he had like a follower on there and he had told me, and the follower's name was Nat Geo, right? Like National Geographic. And he said to me, I like Nature Boy. And I think he might have been a white guy. He's like, I like Nature Boy, but I don't think he knows what he's talking about when it comes to, you know, this whole tropical thing. Because Nature Boy's thing was that we should be between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. That would be ideal climate and place for melanated people to be, you know, for reasons of the sun, you know, the sun being there and the sun being our greatest asset and something that we needed, right? But this white guy, he said no. He said to me, because we began to talk, he said the best place I believe is the mountains. Then I said, okay, I heard him, but I'm still, you know, stuck with Nature Boy. I fucks with Nature Boy. So then I remember reading in the Bible somewhere, and it talked about going in the mountains and hiding. And then the Lord, I remember over those, like 4 or 5 years ago, the Lord started to really put the mountains into my into my consciousness. Okay, so I would say somewhere in the mountains and hills would be a great place to be. So I would say that would definitely be the western part of the United States, the northwest, southwestern parts of America. Okay. I guess somehow there's some form of shield, and what I do believe now is that these are the bases of the gods, okay, of the El Elyon, okay, of the L's. Their headquarters is in these mountains. So I believe the reason for us going to the mountains is it would give us that extra layer of protection that we need. Okay. Another thing would be if you decide to stay in the land. I had a conversation with an old veteran, and these are just random conversations, but I know that everything means something when it comes to me. I'm listening. He talked about he said he had like a couple old cars. He said he refused to get a newer car because he said when shit hits the fan and when war comes to America, that you want to have a car that's the old car that's not ran off of the grid. I guess our cars somehow, these computer-based cars are ran off the grid. It got something to do with the electricity, and that's one thing that they hit when war comes. They'll hit your grids. Now, we just seen recently, I did see signs that is very true. Cuba just had a blackout. Okay. I also know that while Russia and Ukraine was fighting, there was a couple times that Russia was without power, right? So you need these old vehicles to drive. You'll get in your car and your car won't even be operating because it requires what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? It requires whatever new technology. It requires that for it to get running and get going. You know what I mean? It requires the grid to run. So if you can if you got some clunkers, keep the clunkers. If you got well, no, I won't say that. Yeah, so keep a clunker, right? Those are the olden cars, okay? Also, he told me about something called a burner gun, okay? These burner guns are definitely good for people who may have felonies and charges against them to where they can't go out and get a lethal weapon, okay? And just for anyone who maybe is not safe, doesn't feel safe really having a firearm, okay? These are non-lethal weapons, but have lethal capabilities, okay? So he mentioned something about a burner gun, which I believe the burner gun, you fill it with pellets that have like some kind of fumes in it. So when you hit a person, it's like, I guess, some kind of tear gas type of mechanism where it lets out these poisonous chemicals that harm people, but won't kill them. So, I think that's a great option to be able to have non-lethal weapons as well as lethal weapons, okay? The Crusades is all about war. It's all about fighting. So we are the army, right? We are the body of Christ, right? We are needing a true army. No more can our army just be all prayer and all things spiritual. It has to also be physical, because this war is spiritual and physical. Obviously, we are the spiritual ones, so we will do the spiritual work, but also be prepared to engage physically if it comes down to that, okay? So, the non-lethal weapons, the lethal weapons, okay? Ensuring, okay, let me see. Maybe taking some kind of martial arts lessons, to learn a few moves or whatever, defensive moves to protect yourself, because this is wartime, okay? And obviously all the things that everyone's been saying all along, making sure you have tons of water, tons of non-perishables, okay? There's been people that's been stocking for over 40 years, knowing that this day would come sometime, okay? So getting your preserves up and ready if you haven't already been doing that, okay? And now, I don't know how this war would look based off of like what I've been seeing, like with the two wars that's going on, or probably the more than two wars that are going on right now in the world, it seems like it's like very slow and very like, my idea of war was like, it was like, you know, boom boom bow and, you know, it's over. But it's like very strategic, and it's like, you know, little progressions at a time. It's not like, you know, in order to take like a whole landmass, you got to take a little city first, and you got to think of a place like Russia that's huge. How long would it take to conquer the whole of Russia? Perhaps those 200 years. But you start impeding on that landmass, you know, you start impeding on that landmass maybe 200 years earlier, but by that 200 year, you done took over that whole territory. Okay, so perhaps like food and things, certain things won't be so much of a problem to us, but it could be like, we don't necessarily have to worry like, oh my God, there'll never be foods in the supermarket or anything like that. I don't think it'll get like that. I think there'll just be like shortages, you know what I mean? And maybe they'll begin to ration food, stuff like that. Like, I believe that supply will always be available, you know, like the needs, the basic needs of life will always be available. They may just raise the price on it, that crazy inflation, or it'll just be rationed. Okay, so it's good now to get it while it's at the low, you know what I mean? Because you see what happened during these storms. You see what these stores do. They be raising the prices on all type of stuff, you know? So just imagine when war come, what the price is going to be looking like. So you just if you have the space, definitely begin to get your storehouses together, okay, on all the basic necessities. So yeah, this is just a case that I'm presenting to you guys to let you know it is very real. There is no more time to lollygag. The holy war has hit America. Take precautions, chosen ones. Okay, we need to be in contact. We need to begin to build our armies. Okay, we need to begin to come together. No longer can we be in different places and just talking online and congregating online. It is time for us to come together, put our resources together, so that we will have dominion in this new world that is to come. Okay, so my email is florida1321@gmail.com. Okay, if you're interested in joining this army, okay, hit me up. Okay, and again, everyone, please take this very seriously. The more of us that come together, the greater chances of our survival. You know, we see the great militaries of these worlds, how they be around for forever because they have unity, they have weaponry, they stick together. It is time for us now to build our militia, okay, so that we can thrive and be around for the new world. Okay, I love you all. Peace.